Well, hello, I'm Minister William Edward Turner, and we have made it through to our final day. This is day 3 of pre-engagement coaching basics. And today we are just having a wonderful time. Just glad to be here. Today we're going to be dealing with our eye on marriage. And the topics here in our eye on marriage are actually beginning to let you really focus in on some of the things that help you plan your marriage ahead, as well as equip yourself for the future, because it's a whole new realm. One of the things that I'm dealing with another group is that the fact that being in a relationship, or being where you're dating for a number of years, or being where you're living together for a number of years, and getting married is two different things. You think you have the problem solved or the issue solved and everything's going to work out smoothly after you get married because you've been together and living together for a long time. Well, it's not always like that. And the majority of the time, it is not, because it's a different level of commitment, a different level of responsibility. So let us begin. And today we're going to begin with the first principle out of the 6 principles I use when we're dealing with marriage success, God's way, God's 6 principles that he uses. And this is principle number 1. And if you don't have this one settled, you have issues coming up. And that principle is the 2 must agree. We must realize that no one's perfect, and that includes ourselves. In laying these foundational principles, we need to be reevaluating what is actually necessary to be married, to get married. Principle number 1, when 2 people want to do anything together, they must agree. And it's scripturally sound, of course. Amos 3:3, can 2 walk together except they agree? That's the King James Version. And the NIV, it says, do 2 walk together unless they have agreed to do so? And the NLT, New Living Translation, says, can 2 people walk together without agreeing on their direction? That agreement is key, is crucial to going in the same direction. Yes, sometimes there may be deviations or concerns and things like that, but we all know that we're going in the same direction. We're going in the same direction. We're going to get to that same place. One of the things that I talk about, and we're going to be coming up talking about that, is what is your vision for marriage? Do you have a vision for marriage? Well, how do you see marriage being? How do you see your role in the marriage? Excuse me. As your vision for marriage is the same as your partner's. As with all these alternative lifestyles, as they call them nowadays, that different people have different visions for marriage, and you want to be sure that that you and your person that you're looking at marrying, you're looking at having this lifelong relationship with, are on the same page. Are the goals that you desire to accomplish the same? Sometimes one person is going in a direction that way and the other one's going the direction the other way. And it's not that it can't be done, but it has to be agreed upon that, we're going in these directions, but we do also have that central core of what we're doing, where we're going, how we're getting in there. Do you both agree on the plan and the method of achieving this? If you don't have agreement on these basic things from the start, you're headed for trouble if these issues are not rectified. Okay, let us move on. One of the things that I want to talk about is your marriage mission statement for the family. Completing this task together allows you to quality communication time, cooperative agreement on the direction of the family. And that lines up with being in agreement, lines up with the 40-day unity fast that we talked about before. It all lines up together. As we talk about those things, as we find the marriage mission statement, what should it include? What does it decide? It decides what should the family look and feel like. One of the things that you can see a lot in the movies, you see different lifestyles. You see, the lifestyle of we're going to be have the party people, or we're going to be the socialites. We're going to be involved in politics. We're going to be the family oriented, go to the game type of people with the kids. All those different kinds of things are central to the family, and you need to decide. Are you the political people that are engaging in having the events and being at the events, being philanthropists and things like that? Are you going to give to the Audubon Society or save the whales or whatever? How are you going to do this? It's not that something is bad, but it's how you're going to do this. How is your family going to look? How is it going to be set up? What should the marriage accomplish for the kingdom of God? One of the things that we often forget is that there is a responsibility within the marriage to accomplish things for the kingdom of God. You each have a purpose. Is your purpose aligned? Are you going in the same direction in that purpose? If not, are you each supporting each other in the direction that the other is doing? And how does that come together? How does those things gel together? You must look at those things when you're considering your relationship, your purpose for God, because sometimes that roughness or that conflict can cause you to pull apart, even when you're not trying to pull apart, because each of you are after the purpose that God has put on your heart. And that purpose, if frustrated, can cause strife within the family unit. And what should your union do for the kingdom? And it's just the same as what should you accomplish? What do you expect the kingdom of God to receive out of that? If you don't look at it from that standpoint, oftentimes we never think about that. We just go on about, I want to have the big house, the big car. I want to have nice furniture. I want to travel to all these countries. I want to see the USA, rent a Winnebago and drive away. All kinds of things. I want to sail the 7 seas. Everything that happens, we often say, hey, these are the things that we want to do. And we don't look like, how is our mission affecting God? Do I want to feed and serve the homeless? Do I want to serve and nurture the elderly? Do I want to help other married couples? Do I want to help those like me who have been through divorce, who have looking at remarrying again, or possibly remarrying again, being ready and entering or not entering because they have their eyes wide open on what it takes to be involved? Yes. One of the things that we also look at is that what is the protocol, the procedure, the practices, the code of behavior, the set of rules. And oftentimes we don't consider a set of rules. We just fly by whatever set of rules that we had. oftentimes we had certain rules in our life, and those rules were the rules that either were established by our family, either we established later in life, and we don't even talk about the difference of what is coming home late, what is getting up early, what is the time that I want to go to the gym, or I want to exercise, or I want to take my walk. What are those procedures? What is the behavior? Oftentimes, as one relationship I was in, I was told I was always assuming something. Well, it wasn't that way, because we hadn't looked at how things were supposed to work out, how we're supposed to talk about those things, what were the guidelines that we were trying to stay in, those different types of things. They may have had a rule at the time that they went out with their girlfriends every Thursday after work, and I'm sitting home waiting Thursday, and it's like, what happened to you? Did you have a car accident? What's going on? I didn't have the slightest idea. But if I would have known this is one of the practices or things that you and the actually nurses did after work on Thursday, it wouldn't have been a problem. But boy, did it become what's going on. And then sometimes being a kind of at that time, a quiet person, not anymore, a quiet person, and I wouldn't say anything. So therefore, it never got really talked about, and it was kind of stuffed until I was fed up, and then it would blow up into some kind of explosion regarding you never do anything, or da-da-da-da. The never-evers that often people do. And that is an exaggeration of what's going on. It's just on Thursday nights, I need to know, are you staying out late with the girls and coming home at 7, or are you coming home right after work? And if there's a snowstorm, are you still going to be going out? That kind of thing. And at that time, I lived up north, and when it snowed, it snowed. But nevertheless, one of the things is executing your mission statement. Oftentimes we write things down, we put things on paper, and we say, well, I've done that, and move on. But here's an example. Say, for instance, my mission is my marriage shall be a God-centered and God-centered and an example to the world. That I want to live that life that God says have. And say, for instance, the protocol. My family shall stand for God, foundational principles of marriage success. Bible is our standard. The two must agree. We have forgiveness. We have a loving, open communication. And we are patient with self and with each other, committing to loving and not letting our emotions rule our intellect. That may be the protocol, the things that we could look at. The purpose. My marriage shall minister to the body of Christ. The purpose of families, God's design for marriage and deliverance from worldly values of marriage. Then also you might have that my marriage, our union shall demonstrate and steadfast faith in God through all the things, good, bad, and ugly, trusting in the promises of God, that we triumph over all things. And here we're talking about demonstrating a steadfast trust in God. That's whether you're having a good day or a bad day. That's whether the car got flooded and went down the river because of the flood, or whatever. It's you trust in God. Yes, you have problems. Yes, there are issues, but it's how you respond. My sister was a great person in responding with trials and tribulations that God brought on her life, and she was a great example to see. And she was younger than me, but she was an example for me to see how trusting in God to bring you through, to come through, and God taking care of you. And then mission execution. My marriage mission shall be executed through the ministry, through marriage coaching, training, workshops, speaking, videos, books, DVDs, CDs, and social media. And that would be for myself or my family. Now, of course, if you have your guidelines down, you want to get with your intendant and squeak out those things. And oftentimes I find these things, people say, well, I'm not getting married. I don't plan on getting married, da, 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 da. But I find that talking about these things helps you have a better idea of people knowing where you really are in life, where you're going, because oftentimes people just think it's like the high school thing, that we get together, we have fun, that life is all about fun and nothing else matters. That's all that counts. Sorry about that. Thought my computer was falling apart. But nevertheless, having fun. And because life is not just fun, there's also responsibility. And the responsibility is far beyond, do we have the gas and electric on? Do we put gas in the car? Are the kids taken care of? And all those different types of things. There's a responsibility to our community and to the kingdom of God as Christians. Okay, one of the things that I have in your workbook is the marriage the vision plan for your marriage. And in that vision plan, as you pull that up in your workbook, you're going to see that it looks at several areas, and that includes professional, career, spiritual, family, individual, family, and other columns as needed. And basically, this is kind of a map out where you want to look at what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do from now in that first year, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, And a lot of times I find it's easier to work backward or work part of now and part of in the future, as you begin to write this down. But take the time to put this together. Take the time, even if you're doing it by yourself, take that time. When you talk about these things, when you plan, it is often said, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. And, I'm one that believes in planning, but I'm like everybody else. Sometimes I plan in my mind and I don't write it down, and then I'm pulled off course because I got distracted by something else. It's just like you see people or you feel people often do, and I see it a lot where they're going in this one direction and God's got you going in that direction, and then you hear of this great opportunity of multi-level marketing and you can make thousands of dollars, and that was not in your plan. But then you spend this money to get in this part of it, and you realize down the road this is not for you. Your heart isn't really in it. You're just doing it because you were persuaded by that friend, that person that you knew who was doing great, and you thought, shoot, if they can do it, I can do it too. Well, that might not be the case because you may not have that desire, and it's not part of your purpose that God has laid out for you. So do that vision plan for your marriage, because God says, write the vision and make it plain so that they who see it can run with it, and it will come together in a due time. And that is the key. that if you get off track, you got a vision plan to come back to and says, hey, this is what I should be doing. This is where I'm going. And, being a writer, that has happened sometimes where I get off plan with where I'm going. Yeah, some people have that gift of persuasion. You're absolutely right. And they get you off track because they got you going on the mountain hike trip. And you knew you were supposed to be going on the missionary trip. All different kinds of things like that. Okay, this is the next one we're dealing with. Whose money is it? Now, this one sometimes many people struggle with. I've struggled with it, but I had to have a commitment to God, realizing that being in agreement, this backs up all into that. Finances are one of the most important topics in marriage. How we're going to handle the household income budget, planning major purchases, personal expenses, personal pocket money spent on yourself, and what you want to is not controlled by someone else. It's not for something else. It's your money. If you want to buy a purse with it, fine. If you want to buy a car with it, fine. But, hopefully you're getting that kind of money in your pocket money. But the whole thing is that how money gets spent is often the cause of strife in marriage, to the point that it can be even separation. One of the things that I find is that marriage underlying issues of money is whose is it? And the marriage attitude of I make the most or I make all the money and it's my money and it's not in line with the two become one as God intended. And I guess as I looked at that put a whole different perspective on whose money is it? Because if the two are really becoming one, who am I to keep things separate when God intended for us to be one? And as God intends for us to be one together, what I say is that, yes, you can have a nest egg here and they can have a nest egg there, but it's not a thing done in secret. It's not a thing done where you saying that I'm having this over here. I watched a program just last night where the lady had thousands of dollars in the laundry room in the laundry detergent box. And her daughter came in and picked up that box and was going to help do the laundry. And the lady had a fit. Oh, no, not that box. But she had this stash and, and she had been turning her life around. And the daughter talked to her about, hey, don't start this, because her habit was usually if things got rough, she ran away and she had this stash money on the side because if she didn't like stuff, she didn't work it out. She just took off, And that's the whole thing about whose money is it, is also one of the things that I find in dealing with whose money is it. We must do the budgets together. One of the most stressful things is doing the budgets and paying the bills together. I know when I was up north and like last month and this month with those storms, you get a bill for $600. $600. And I remember that happened, and I didn't have even billing at the time. Didn't really know about even billing. And, that's a good question. What happens in an abusive relationship? And that's one of the purposes for all the unity fast and that kind of thing. We don't wait to find out if we're in an abusive relationship. And oftentimes we see it coming, but we're so in love, like me, so in love that I ignore the signs that this person is abusive. You know, I've had a couple occasions where the signs were right up front. What was it? Somebody told me they got mad and was yelling at me, or they didn't think they were yelling at me, but it wasn't the volume, it was the tone that they told me that when I called you, you can't do this and that, and you're supposed to be awake listening to me. Now you called me at 1:30 a.m. I was asleep, and now you mad because I'm going to sleep because you're boring. But nevertheless, that person had that abusive personality, and I didn't ignore it that time. Now that I'm older, I know, I hear you. But when I was young, I didn't know. I also have a rule that if the person acts out or does something out of agreement with what you established on that first date, then that's the best they're going to get. It's only going to get worse from there. Because if you're on your first date, you're usually on your best behavior. So if you're having a bad time on that date, it's not going to get any better. Don't even try to imagine it. Because what happens is that abusive situation, and sometimes the abuse is manipulative abuse, where it's not that they beat you, not that they hit you, different types of things that you have where it's that, but it's the manipulative. I know a situation where I took a person on a date and they were just wanting to get with me. I said, well, you have to wait until Friday. Oh, no, they wanted to get with me today and talk today. And I said, okay, we can get together today, but I only have X amount of money. And and we can just get, some coffee and a dessert. No, we get there and they order a whole meal. Now, and then so I didn't call them anymore because we had talked about that for days. And you got the whole meal and ordered it straight off, even though we had even talked about it before we went into the restaurant. You were just going to do what you wanted to do because that's what you wanted to do. So you were manipulative, and I can see it today. And this is why pre-engagement coaching and these kind of things are so needed, because oftentimes we don't see these things when you're in the path of romance. Sometimes romance is so bright, it's blinding. So one of the things that you must settle, the who money is it issues, and in your mind, and because the income becomes our income, not just your income. We have to be at a place where we can say, yes, I'm comfortable with that. Yes, I know she has a box of, game full of money for her stash, and that's all right. Yes, I know he has money stashed back in his sock drawer, and yes, that's all right. But we know that, and it's not something that we're hiding, but we know that we also have our money here that pays for everything and that kind of thing. And we also know that every month I'm taking out, or every payday I'm taking out $100 for me, that kind of thing, or $5 for me, depending on your paycheck, But nevertheless, that money can be a really, really big issue if we don't talk about it, if we don't discuss it. Okay. As I pointed out in the section, are you prepared for marriage? Financially, are you ready to share all your income with another with no unknown nest eggs? Are you ready to set up a joint budget and be committed to it? And that's one of the things. I've been in a relationship where we set up a joint budget, but you're spending $25 for lunch, and I don't find that out until the end of the month, and things are tight. And so one of us has to sacrifice. And in that case, it was me. I was sacrificing. So I would take my lunch and that kind of thing. But over a period of time, that brought up some, hidden, suppressed strife, because, you're downtown and they have the fine restaurants and all that kind of stuff. But hey, $25 a lunch, 5 days a week, that's a lot of money. And then you want to do this, that, and the other, and you're saying, why can't I? And I don't believe in just burning up your credit card just because you have a credit card. So if you and your spouse don't have peace in your heart and spirit, in your mind and intellect and will and emotions regarding this issue, that conflict is waiting on you, like it's hiding behind the door. It's waiting for you to get to that point where it's going to be an issue, a real issue, that because you didn't talk it out, there's assumptions made. It blows up. So settle that issue now. The attitude of I make the most and have all the money and it's not yours, it's mine, is not an attitude we share. Equally responsibility for that management of the money. And that's the thing, because you don't make all the money or you make less, you should not be spending it like it's water because you make it all, or then you can get what you want. And that's one of the things that you may have to sacrifice as you come into your relationship with somebody. You're putting your monies together. One of my greatest joys was because I was, at the time, I was a spender. I was like, yeah, let's put it together. You can handle the money, and then, I'm only going to get out this much, and handle that and not buy everything. I was committed to that, but that did not happen. So on the next page, I have a sample budget. Now you can blow that up and it has all the lines in it. Matter of fact, this is the one that I use now with my just single budget, just for me. But it has a place where you can put your incomes, 2 different incomes in, and you put your bills, you put what you actually spent. It has what's left over in it. And you can find this in, if you have Excel. This is one of those free budget sheets that's in there. So you can get that off of Excel. I would go through it, look at how you do. And I've moved things around, because, whether you're sending money to someone else, family member, or that kind of stuff, or you're saving up for something special, you can look at how are you putting it aside. Some months you may say, hey, I don't have $100 to put aside, or $50 to put aside, or $25 to put aside, or $5, however it may be. But you can look at what you wanted to do and monitor, okay, that I didn't have this to put aside because I did X, Y, Z over in this particular section. It just helps you keep track of it, helps you keep in mind, I used to be one of those people who kept receipts and all that kind of stuff. Don't do that anymore because I don't get reimbursed for keeping those receipts. And even though I do keep them, I end up throwing them away. So part of the habit is still there, but the part of tabulating them up and all that kind of stuff, what's for what, that kind of thing, I don't do anymore because I have a budget. I know what I'm spending in that particular area, and I know that if I get gas, I'm paying for it. I'm not getting reimbursed for it. So if I eat, I'm paying for it. I'm not getting reimbursed for it. So those kind of things is that you have to look at. And having a budget gives both people a bird's eye view of what's going on. Because one of the things that happens when one gets sick, or one's not feeling well, and the bills need to pay, we have a budget, so we already know what's coming out. We already know what's coming out. And the thing about this particular Excel program is that you can have usually, I have like this year's January and February. And then there will be a sheet for March and April and May and June, July, and so on and so forth. Because then I can look back. Also, you can have where things roll over if you set it up that way to the next month if it wasn't spent or something like that. But I don't roll mine over because I like to keep it, I keep it in my head partially. It's just me. But if you got two people involved, this gives you a way of looking at tracking what you're doing. It's also a prevention from going over it in the other area where you were supposed to save $100 here, but the $100 is floating out there because somebody forgot that was supposed to happen. Maybe you had a medical procedure coming up and you're saving it down in the column where it says medical expenses and you're putting that aside because you had co-payments and maybe procedural stuff that you had to get for that, like a colonoscopy, and you had to buy all this stuff to get yourself ready for that particular procedure. But nevertheless, so those are the things that we want to talk about there. Now, this a marriage encouragement network. One of the things that I find, and I talk about this, is that when you get married, you are when you get in that relationship to get married, you change who you socialize with. You have a whole new network of people that you socialize with or that you can't socialize with is a lot of times the situation. One of the things that I find for men is that they can no longer spend the kind of time they did with single guys. They need to be around some people that are married, and the same thing with the ladies, because what happens is that oftentimes you're going through whatever, and I've been part of a situation where I didn't know happened, where somebody was talking about, oh, how good a husband William is. Of course, I'm going to brag on that part. How good a husband William is. And the person that they had with them, let me grab some water here. The person that they had with them was trying to stab them in the back by communicating with me, unbeknownst to them, trying to cause some rifts and some problems and things like that. And now you got something going because I know where I had a situation where at the time my wife and I were both helping out this young lady that we thought we were helping her out, but what her plan was creeping into the marriage and separating us. But we thought we were talking and coaching her and helping her out, but that wasn't her real plan. The same thing happens with guys. that they may be trying to encroach upon your relationship. And oftentimes we don't see that because we're on our mission of coaching and counseling and doing different things, working, the gift that God has given us. But there also are, they say, wolves in sheep clothing. Not sheep in wolves' clothing, but wolves in sheep's clothing. So those kind of things, creating a new network of people to socialize with as you transition from the me and mine to the us and ours mindset. Our marriage encouragement network smooths that transition out. It's a source of friends and acquaintances whom you can call on, communicate with, and fellowship with. When we do this, we need to be aware and find what we consider successful marriage couples to communicate with and identify them to be part of your marriage encouragement network. I suggest 8 couples, and on the next page, I believe I have a mapping out of how long each section should be married. You got 2 married 10 years, 2 married 5, 2 just married, and those different types of things. And the reason for that is that oftentimes we can be married so long we forget how things should go, or we can be married not long enough and we forget that we are no longer single anymore and that marriage is work. And sometimes we need to talk to that person with that additional experience that can tell us. And the reason for 8 couples is that getting together, usually out of those group, you'll find 1 or 2 people that you can connect with and be open and honest about what's going on with you and feel comfortable that they're not going to be all over town telling you, oh, she did so-and-so to him. And that's the thing about being single. If you're talking to your single friends, and I've had this happen where, the guys are talking about, man, I wouldn't take that. I would do this. I would do that. And I've heard women do the same thing to their girlfriends, especially when I worked in healthcare. It was predominantly women in the workplace. And in the lunchroom where you're eating lunch, you would hear various things like this said. But the thing is that single advice doesn't work in a marriage relationship. Now, some things it may, like buying a car, but how to deal with a person usually does not work in a marriage relationship. Marriage is commitment, it's tolerance, it's, confidentiality. You don't want it all across the nation, on Facebook now. See, at that time, they didn't have Facebook, and they had the beauty shop. And the beauty shop was where it was carried across the nation. But nevertheless, it was pretty effective. But this thing, having that network, allows you to have that comfortable place to hook up with. One of my issues even now is that being in that in-between place, being a divorcee, as I call it, a serial divorcee, is that having support groups in places where I can comfortably talk about my ups and downs, failures, concerns, stressed out issues, and not feel that it's going to be going around the world, that I'm comfortable with talking with those people. And that's the purpose for the Marriage Encouragement Network. The network should be people that you can trust, that you can converse with. I had a friend who would say, ain't no man gonna tell me who and where I can go. I'm grown. Hey, man, I had a friend. We must have the same friend. No, I had a friend like that too, that said that. And I've had one that said, ain't no woman gonna do that to me. How they say you're henpecked. And that's what the single guys would say. And interesting enough, that same conversation around married guys would be, that was a wise decision, and it's like the difference of the outlook and the perspective, even though sometimes I think it goes to the stream with the, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, taking it a little bit too far. But the whole point of it is that it's a working relationship. It's not, if you come in with the attitude of, I'm not going to be controlled, I'm not going to this, you can't tell me, it's my money. What happens is you've already set the groundwork for separation. And that's the thing that pre-engagement coaching gets you to look at. Who are you? Who are you really? Are you ready? Because sometimes being single is a better state than being with somebody that you're going to be in strife with, or you still got your guard up because you're not letting anybody do what happened to you in the last marriage. There's the thunder and lightning. Did I say a good thing, God? Nevertheless, but you're not going to let anybody control you. And you rebel against the principles of God. Yes, you're working in the relationship. You're absolutely correct, Elder. Now, the other thing that I talk about is marriage enrichment. And see, I look at it as a pattern of, first you get pre-engagement coaching. Identify where you're at, what you're looking for, what you're not, what's going on in your life, and where you fit in or don't fit in terms of being married. Then if you do get married, you want to get pre-marriage counseling. And that pre-marriage counseling oftentimes is after you've decided that that's what you want to do and taking a good look at it through pre-engagement coaching. The pre-marriage counseling oftentimes is rushed and pushed because of you have the pending marriage or wedding on the horizon. And you told all the friends, and many churches won't marry you if you don't take the pre-marriage counseling. So, sometimes it's just like, I'm taking the advanced algebra crash because I need these credits. So you whiz through it, you don't remember anything. But thing that I say, after you've been married for about 6 months, you need to take a marriage enrichment course. One of the things that I find that blending two souls together to become one is not always a smooth transition. It is there that marriage enrichment comes in to give you the skills and tools that you need to blend in to be a successful married couple. Oftentimes, after 6 months, you've felt some of those stresses and strains. It's amazing how quick they pop up. Stresses and strains about, hey, this is not quite a good fit. I'm trying to fit into, I'm a square peg trying to fit into a round hole, or I'm in a round hole and I'm a square peg and I'm stuck, those different types of things. But the marriage enrichment, you have some time period behind you, and then it gives you skills for, it oftentimes talk about how to argue fairly. And actually when you deal with the complete basics, the complete one-on-one, I deal with arguing, or what I call having a peace in conflict conversation, where we might have conflict about it, but how we talk about it, how we handle it makes a big difference. One of the things that in the marriage enrichments, there's usually no judging, no preaching. They just support to teach, to guide couples to develop the needed relationship skills that strengthen their marriage. So it's like going on a retreat where you're strengthening yourself. You're building yourself up as a couple. Oftentimes, particularly African Americans don't do this, and they don't do the pre-engagement either. But we have the highest rates of divorce, and we don't take the skills that we and put them in place and keep our skills in tune so that we are able to make it through because we think something, I don't know, it's magical. As I had a teacher who used to call it, you got to learn it because it doesn't come by black magic. And so I had to say, what you talking about? But then as we went on through class, I learned what he was talking about. But nevertheless, couples are often challenged to examine their thoughts and behaviors and to learn more about each other and their effects on life. Well, that does it for the basics, but I have a part that I want to get into, and I talk about Bible as the standard. And that's principle two when you're talking about God's principles for marriage. That the Holy Bible is the standard, the source of conflict resolution for relationships and marriage. If any relationship, in any relationship that you have a standard for living together, the standard must be solid. Doesn't change with the passing of time, with society or economy, with war or peace, feast or famine, sickness or health, and that's the Bible, the Word of God. It does not change and hasn't for thousands of years. The principle is always the same. As I talked about in the full book, you would have married couples and how I have examples of those that I've interviewed and how they've had success in marriage dealing with different things. As a Christian married couple, don't become partners with those who reject God. We have to look at that. Sometimes we want to say, I'm going to make them be, they're going to change their life when they get some of me, or I'm going to teach them what to do and how to do it. A lot of times, first of all, they're resistant to it, been resistant to it. And if God hasn't changed them, you probably not going to change them yet either. They have to go through whatever process they have to go through. And sometimes it's best to let them go through process than to be in a relationship with them to try to help or make or drive or guide that training, because God knows how to do what he's doing. How can you make a partnership out of right and wrong? You can't. There's no partnership that's not partnership. What you have when you have one's right, one's wrong, you have war. Does Christ struggle with the devil? You cannot do that. Don't trust and mistrust don't hold hands. Don't link up with those who would pollute you. And one of the things that often happens is that pollution comes slowly. It's like you knew that they were doing, example, they were going to the club gambling on Thursday nights. But all in all, they were a good person, and this is male or female now. It's not just a male or female. But you decided, well, I just like them and I like being with them and we have a great time together. And they'll stop that when we get married. No, they will not. They've been doing it for years. They may say they'll stop. They're going to do it for a while, but they may resent you for stopping it, as well as you may resent them for not stopping it. As it says, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communication has light with darkness. And as we look at these things, we need to be sure that we're using God as the standard. In the Message Bible, and I'll skip the NIV, it says, don't become partners with those who reject God. How can you make a partnership out of right and wrong? There's not a partnership, that's war. Light is light best friends with dark? Does Christ go strolling with the devil? Don't trust, mistrust. Do trust and mistrust hold hand? Who would think of setting up pagan idols in God's holy temple? But this is exactly what we do when each of us is a temple in whom God lives. Himself put it in us. God put it this way. There we go. I live in them, move in them. I'll be their God, and they'll be my people. So leave the corruption and compromise. Leave it for good, says God. Don't link up with those who will pollute you. I want you all for myself. I want you all for myself. And God says that whether it is your first marriage or the next marriage, this kind of baggage can come along. Holding on to past relationships, trying to protect yourself, trying to use other standards other than the Bible. Because one of the things when I was young in high school, I used to read Essence magazine so that I would know what the other ladies would say and how to say the right thing, those different kinds of things in pleasing. But always remember that even in situations where you may assume that you're equally yoked, God does not condone abusive behavior from anyone, whether it's verbal, mental, emotional, financial, physical, none of that. So sometimes we have to walk away, move out, because things that we thought were going to be moving and mellow, and things that we heard, we might have heard that he, and it's interesting how you hear stuff after you get married. Oh, I heard he beat up his last wife. Oh, I heard she stabbed her last husband. All this kind of stuff. And you don't hear that while you're dating. But then you think, oh, no, that could be it. That's not the person I know. And then later on, they reveal themselves. Sometimes you have to step away. And as I've always said, sometimes God is not joining things together. We have joined it together, our lust, our desires, our maybe impatient that we don't have anybody in our life. I'm a great one for impatient, but thank God that he's changed me to be patient. And sometimes I think it's through duress, because I feel that he does not let me run into too many people. And I'm thankful for that, because I love being in love and that new feeling and all that kind of thing. But without God, it's impossible to have the blessings of God. We can have, just like rain, he rains on everybody. But your relationship with God is crucial. God says in his word that he so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believed in him might have eternal life. But all those who disobey God, to sin and go their own way, This separates us from God. Now, I want you to know that, and I understand that my audience today is those that are in Christ, but I want you to know that without your relationship in Christ, many of the things that I talked about, you will have greater difficulty with because you do not have the Bible as standard, and you do not have that connection with God who can speak to you through situations, who can guide you through his word. And so, as it talks about the Romans road to the gospel of Jesus Christ, for all have sinned and fallen short of the gospel, that the wages of sin is death. But God demonstrates his love toward us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. But the gift of God is eternal life. And if we confess our sins with our mouth, the Lord Jesus, and believe in our heart that God raised him from the dead, we shall be saved. And that's confessing with our mouth that God raised the Lord Jesus from the dead, and believe in our hearts that we shall be saved. For those who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And if you have not been saved, I ask you to rededicate and follow this. Just repeat after me so that we can bring you back by rededication or dedicating your life to Jesus Christ. Father, I know that I'm a sinner, and I ask that you forgive me. I believe Christ died for me to pay the penalty for my sins and restore my relationship with God. That God raised him from the dead to give me eternal life. I want to turn from my sins. Jesus, come into my heart and be my personal Lord and Savior. I promise to obey you and to follow you all the days of my life. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Now, if you made this confession, complete the certificate and read the suggested scriptures on the following page. And those scriptures, one of the things that I usually tell people to do is go to 1 Thessalonians. It's basically instructions for new Christians. And it gives you some insight other than what's going on. The thing that we have is that we are oftentimes seeking and getting into church for the sake of church, not growing. And what you need to do is you want to grow. I always, and I used to give them away. They're kind of hard to find now, but you can get on the internet and get a Faith to Faith devotional by Kenneth Copeland. He emails it to you every morning, early in the morning. And so it's usually there when you wake up. Also, you should seek out a Bible-believing and teaching church where you can fellowship with others. This will help you stand strong in your life as it allows you to cultivate that new lifestyle. I suggest in the meantime, if you haven't found one, if you don't have one, that you can live stream Mount Zion Baptist Church of Greensboro Incorporated at www.mtzbc.com until you find a local church. This will provide you with positive, practical teaching of the Word of God from Senior Pastor Bishop Brian J. Pierce, and that's where I go to church as well. So I know that you're going to get the solid teaching that you need. Well, this concludes our day 3 of the pre-engagement basics. I just want you to let you know that I really appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, I ask you to leave it on the group page. And if you leave it there in the comments, because I'll have day 3 comments. And day 3, there isn't really an assignment, but it's just for your comments and even suggestions. One of the things that I do is that I gave you 47 pages of an 80-page book, so there's a lot more that goes in there. So some things I squeezed in, but nevertheless, if you're interested in getting coaching that's one-on-one, you can contact me at 336-706-0090. That's 336-706-0090. So thank you, and you have a wonderful and blessed day. And also, you can check out the links and visit the website. So talk to you later. Have a wonderful and blessed day, and thank you so much.